G'day, bird nerds. How are you? I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. I'm also a plant nerd. In the other frame, that's Dr. Holly Parsons, who is,
Hi.
I can read your line there, Urban Bird Program Manager, BirdLife Australia.
That's
So,
me.
how are you, Holly?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Um, I'm pretty fine. Um,
Yeah.
for new people who might not be familiar with Monday with
hmm
Holly, this is when we talk about urban birds.
Yes,
Obvious,
we do.
obviously, a bit of a focus on Australia, but if we've got other stuff to talk about from around the world, we will. I'm in the unceded lands of the Wurundjeri people. That's where I park my big ass
hmm
most times we do the show. Holly, where are you?
And I am on Dharawal country.
That makes it Melbourne and Wollongong,
Yeah.
respectively. So, Holly, we're 2 weeks out from National Bird Week.
Yes, and I'm still recovering.
Well,
It was a big week.
well, we
It
did
was a big,
do a bit of an intro about what Bird Week was all about. Um, Tell us a little bit about what you specifically got up to.
so I did a lot of media for Bird Week. There was, of course, the Bird Week team put in a huge amount of effort getting the app ready for people to do the Aussie bird count, of course, and a lot of media goes out about the event. So I did a lot of talking about the Aussie bird count, how people can get involved, encouraging people to take part. Um, so yeah, I was mostly New South Wales focused, but I did do a couple of Brisbane. I think I might have done a piece in Victoria as well. We kind of share the load through BirdLife with those of us who do a bit of media to talk about the work. But it was really fun. Everybody was really into it and keen, and um, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Did you get a count done every day of the week?
No. I think Grant, we talked on the Monday, which was
We
the
did.
sort of the first day, and I'd said that I was going to go out straight afterwards and do my count. And as soon as it finished, this squall just came through, and I was like, "Well, it's not happening to like it wasn't happening then." So I did get a couple of counts in amongst talking about the count and ferrying a child around and things. So I did get a few counts in, but it wasn't every day.
I didn't do Sunday, and
Mm-hmm.
weather was the same reason.
Yeah.
I was just about to head out the door, and then we got a big blustery
Mm-hmm.
squall that set in for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't do a count on the Sunday. A
Mm-hmm.
couple of days I managed to get two in,
Yep.
uh, and in different locations too. So I did the
Mm-hmm.
park every
Yep.
day except
Yeah.
Sunday
Nice.
in the morning and
Mm-hmm.
mostly in the afternoon. But I did do a couple down in the shopping centre,
Oh,
which
cool.
was which was which was interesting. The most interesting bird that I got in my counts,
Mm-hmm.
Holly, was the
Mm-hmm.
purple crowned lorikeet,
Oh, nice.
in company
Mm-hmm.
with and actually they were five on their own. Sorry, they were five on their own,
Okay.
feeding on their own. But the first muskie of the summer
Mm-hmm.
was in company with a couple
Oh,
of rainbow,
lovely. That's
yeah,
so
a couple of rainbow
nice.
lorikeets. Um, they were the most interesting sightings
Mm-hmm.
that I had actually in Bird Week, but I've had a few
Yep.
interesting ones otherwise. Now,
Okay.
I know the sort of review of Bird Week and everything
Mm-hmm.
within BirdLife hasn't happened yet,
No.
but the raw numbers was it the
Mm-hmm.
biggest? I think it was the biggest count so far. Is that right?
I don't think it was. I think it was
Oh,
it was bigger than last year where we had sort of torrential rain and things, but I don't think it topped 2021. I think the numbers were still down
so
on that.
Pat,
It certainly went really well, but I think we were a little bit down, not quite the highest. But that's still okay. It was still something like 100,000 people took part. You know, about 3.9 million birds counted was the sort of the raw data. So it's still a heck of a lot of people seeing a heck of a lot of birds. Um, so we're really happy with it. But yeah, we will do a full sort of debrief as everybody sort of comes together and all the data's about to get vetted and things. So we've got some the basic top most dominant birds. I think we kind of announced early on are the ones that are always the most common birds. It's going to be rainbow lorikeets, noisy miners, and magpies as the top three overall again. And that's pretty much the same every year. They're just, effectively kind of hyper abundant gangbusters, huge numbers
yeah,
of birds. Yeah.
yeah. In my location, rainbow lorikeets,
Mm-hmm.
red wattlebird
Mm-hmm. Okay.
are the top two, and then
Mm-hmm.
noisy miner, New Holland honeyeater,
Mm-hmm.
about the same, and then there's a
Yep.
really solid baseline level of little raven, common blackbird, house sparrow, spotted dove, common starling. Um, yeah, that's sort of the
Mm-hmm.
birds I can always rely on in
Mm-hmm.
seeing. I'm going to start doing eBird just to create a hotspot for the
Yep.
for the park.
Yep.
Yeah. Now we should say, Holly, hello, Martin. Martin's up in
Hey.
Gladstone. Martin, give us an idea of what you saw
Mm.
in Bird Week and what you got up to. And look, Shane's given us his results. How are you, Shane? Nice to see you again. 25 counts done, 24 species identified, 1,507 birds. Very, very,
Wow.
very nice. Very, very, very
Nice.
nice. Uh,
My nicest sighting for the week didn't actually make it into the count, and I was so disappointed, but I did the right thing and didn't put it in. As I was coming home from Sydney on the Saturday and I was driving down a major road and had a wedge-tail eagle come really quite low, sort of soaring overhead. And I was like, I'm not sitting in a spot where I can do 20 minutes. I can't count it, but I saw it. Um, it was very
well,
nice, but it couldn't make it into the count.
but did you add it into bird data?
Not yet. It'll go in as an
Okay, yeah,
incidental.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. You can do that.
Yeah.
Um, what I wanted to ask you, Holly, because I don't think we really covered off
Mm-hmm.
uh, on this when we were talking about before
Mm.
Bird Week.
Yep.
From your point of view, I mean, you do a lot of media,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a big buzz about National Bird Week, which
Mm.
which I feel like it's just dies totally away. But what did you really want the Urban Birds program to gain, to actually gain out
Mm-hmm.
of National Bird Week?
Oh, look, I think there's a couple of things. Like, I think anytime you can reach more people and get more people into birds, that's amazing because we can build on that. And so for me within my urban team, it's not necessarily about the bird week itself. It's about, okay, how do we build those people into being long-term involved with us? So how can I get people now to go and plant some plants for birds? How can I get them to take part in our webinars and join us at those? How can I get people to do their Aussie bird count survey, but then come and do some regular birds in backyard surveys in their gardens? So the bird count is really important for, getting that sort of census once a year data, but getting out and getting people hooked on birds to then keep consistently sort of working with us to help us achieve, what we want to do for urban bird conservation. So it's from now on that we sort of, will be reaching out to people and talking about what we do and giving people opportunities to interact with us a lot more.
So how do you measure that?
So it goes then on, how many people get our messages, how many people take action, so how many surveys we then get, people doing birds in backyard surveys or joining our e-learning course. So then it all goes on sort of tracking of numbers of people for the most part, and then that gets reflected back in sort of the bird data where we can see how much is coming in and what's happening with the bird communities.
Cool. Do you... there were a couple of ambassadors for National Bird Week.
Yep.
How many were there? I only saw two that went past my.
Is it two or three?
Feed. I saw
Sam Cotton.
Okay,
Kirsty
Sam,
Costa.
I missed. Kirsty, I saw. Kirsty, of course, the host of the Weekend Birder podcast.
Yep.
There seemed to be a host of a bird podcast that was missing from the ambassador list. But
we'll have to get that rectified, won't we?
And David Pocock.
Yes, that's right.
Which I thought was a really interesting one.
Yep.
I can see what the tie-in with Kirsty is and what the aim is. Tell us about Sam Cotton.
So Sam is a digital creator. So he has a really lovely reach. He does lovely animations and is really into his birds. And so, he has a really big social media presence and an interest, which is where it aligns.
Okay, and David Pocock, Balance of Power Senator.
Yep.
What's the thought about what he can do? I mean, is it like a 12-month sort of position, or is it just something that you talk about for a couple of days in Bird Week? I mean, is he?
He stays engaged with BirdLife throughout the year. So, I mean, different levels of involvement with others who are ambassadors or not is just part of what we do at BirdLife. We have sort of constant contact with politicians and social media people, like all over the place. So someone like Sam, it's probably coming in and focusing on the week. And then, we may have interactions with him throughout the year on other things, but his sort of big alignment with us is during Bird Week. Someone like David Pocock, absolutely, during Bird Week showing his support, but the organisation does a lot of communication with him throughout the year, talking about sort of federal issues around birds. So it's not a one-off with someone like him, no.
So, in America, they call all their legislation really weird names. I hope he puts up the BirdLife Australia Swift Parrot, act or something. So, I mean, we all. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean to. Drop
I was just reading his bird list.
Yeah. I didn't mean to drop it off. Martin in Gladstone, common birds,
nice.
Rainbow lorikeet, little friarbird, noisy friarbird,
nice.
Australian magpie, white-winged chuffs, or
are
they called the Australian chuff now?
I still know them as white-winged chuffs.
Yeah, I can never remember. I can't keep up with it. Galahs, brown honeyeaters. Brown honeyeaters are ubiquitous in the northern part of the country.
Yeah, for sure.
And the magpie lark. Magpie larks, I'm starting to see them around my place again. They tend to be more down in the town, but they've been up here. I may as well tell you the birds that have made a bit of their seasonal comeback. The red rump parrots are back in their old haunts, and the first time I've seen silver eye in my street.
Oh, nice!
So I've now seen them 4 days out of maybe the last 6 when I've walked down the street. So they're not up this end of my street; they are further down in the more traditional gardens and with some of the denser gardens. So that was a nice surprise. I do like seeing something new.
Yeah.
but I don't know what it. I don't know if it tells me anything. I don't know whether I can draw any inference from them.
Well, a one-off you probably can't. That's the value of sort of multiple sites and repeat visits and sort of being able to document those trends. At the moment, you've got sort of an anecdotal sighting, which is still amazing. And hopefully it's more than one. Hopefully it's a return.
Well, I did see the first day I just saw one. The second day I just saw one. The next time I saw two, and the next time I saw maybe half a dozen spread over two gardens on over both sides of the street. So
where are we? Are we migration time?
Yeah, no. Yeah. They'd be moving. They'd be moving south now, wouldn't they?
South, yeah.
So so I would imagine these would be birds that are either heading to maybe East Gippsland or all the way down to Tasmania. So
nice.
And they were naked eye shots. I didn't have the binoculars with me, so I couldn't tell whether they were the really coloured up version or whether they were the plain greeny yellow version. But nice. Let's see what else. What else did I want to report? Good news. Good news that you. I'm sure you've caught up with this, but maybe not everybody. The Australian painted snipe tracking project managed to catch and secure a transmitter on their first snipe or painted snipe.
Yep.
And I got a text message yesterday, which, sorry, Ricky, I haven't replied. Ricky managed to tick off her first painted snipe yesterday.
Oh, because it was one in Hawkesbury somewhere, wasn't it? I did see.
I didn't.
Saw that.
I was doing other things, so I wasn't tracking that yesterday. But I did get the text from Ricky, so that's good. That's good.
Yes. So there was one seen in the Hawkesbury because someone in my Facebook group had seen it. So I'm assuming that would be the bird that Ricky's been able to see too.
Very cool. Well, I wonder how many hundreds of people raced off to go and see it.
Yeah.
So, now just summation. Now, I don't think we mentioned this, but the government's put off the EBP, what is it? Environment Protection, Biodiversity. They put that off for another at least 6 months, maybe up to 12 months. So the disappointing thing is that, but Tanya did manage to tell us all that she'd done a bird count. I wish she'd just bloody do something practical. So we're still logging the nesting habitat of the swift parrot in Tasmania. We're still destroying the boxwood land necessary to support swift parrot and region honeyeaters, and we're still logging the forests in Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, and the Great Koala National Park has not been declared. So, but there was a win though. New South Wales government are actually going to undertake the control of the feral horses in Kosciuszko National Park.
Right.
So we're getting all the backlash about that again, but
yes.
But I've got to give them credit. That seems like a bit of a gutsy move, but I'm going to hold off. I'm going to hold off until they're actually showing us that it started, and because it's a very loud, it's a very, very loud interest group, and
it is,
so we'll just wait and Now, I did want to bring something up. I haven't warned you about this, but I did mention this to everyone the other day. I'm just going to call up. I'm going to call up Aussie Bird Count. .org.au. And look, I'm being very, very hard on this, but have we? Is there a general position within BirdLife about feeding birds in the garden?
Yeah.
So what
Why?
is it?
So look, we tend to say it is better if you don't, but if you do, follow some guidelines. So I have on the Birds in Backyards website a bird feeding information sheet. I will bring that up. Hang on. So the issue of bird feeding, as you know, when we talk to Daryl, is quite complex.
And I spoke with Alex Lees from the UK. Who's the other day too, and we spoke about generalised provisioning of wildlife is how he mentioned it. And here we go. You've just put up that. That's good. Have a look at that in a second. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong... here we go. No, I'm not. Okay. Look, I am being a bit nitpicky, but the reason I'm doing this is because and the only reason I'm bringing it up is because for me it's confusing messaging. So we mentioned...
Are you on the BirdLife website?
I'm on aussiebirdcount.org.au. And if we go to supporters and we have a look, the sponsors of Aussie Bird Count are Trill. So I totally get why Trill would want to be a supporter, but that seems to me a little bit of confused messaging. So that's really all I wanted to say about that, because we're always trying to say, feeding is problematic, and I mean, we went through the whole process that I was feeding in the pandemic, and I stopped after talking to David Phelan, and we've got beak and feather disease and other diseases. When birds are in close contact, diseases can spread. People don't always keep the utensils full, and then you've got all the other issues about maybe hyperpredation in a feeding location, and all the kind of issues that come up about encouraging less desirable species. And I mean, we've had the discussions about when you're planting plants, try and plant. Don't try and plant the fountains of nectar. Try and plant the ones that encourage the, sort of the normal birds. So the regularly occurring without pest species and invasive species being around. So it just seemed to me that perhaps without some other sort of generalised media to support or to extend the thought, it just seemed to me to be a little bit a little bit confusing, and it didn't link to any. I mean, it just said supporters, and it doesn't link. It doesn't link to something about best practices or anything like that.
No, that's true. It doesn't.
And there are other companies like Pandaroo, and is that what they're called? No, what are they called?
Wombaroo.
Who do the Wombaroo? Beg your pardon.
Yes.
That maybe provide better options in terms of feeding birds and animals. So, that's the only only reason I bring it up. It's not to be not to be mega critical, because I'm not, and I totally understand that having a sponsor is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I just would have liked to see it go the next step, and maybe Sunrise could have done a feature on, best ways to encourage birds into your backyard or something.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. Anyway, so there we go. Now you just brought up the feeding and nutrition guidelines for wild bird feeding. So that's really, really good. We might. I don't think I'll bring that up and talk about it now, Holly.
No, it's fine.
But we'll do that when we've got Daryl on.
Yeah,
absolutely. And for all of you who are waiting for Daryl, Daryl is on a plane or was going to be this morning, so couldn't come. But it's still going to happen when. Oh, Holly, hold up the book. Have you still got it right next to you or not? There we are. So that's Daryl's. Okay. That's Daryl's new book that we will be discussing, and I'm going to hang out with Daryl in a couple of weeks, and I'm planning a trip to Kuala Lumpur, so I'll go and check him out there too. Yeah, very nice. What's the title, Holly?
It is Getting to Know the Birds in Your Neighbourhood. I'm really bad.
There we are. It's right up our.
It is
our street,
isn't it?
Right up our street. Now, folks, while Holly's here, tell us what your highlight, not bird count highlight, but just your highlight of Bird Week was, and if you were the Wizard of Oz or the equivalent, if you were the invisible sky fairy, and you could determine what would happen in the next National Bird Week, what would be your biggest wish thing?
Oh, okay. All right. So my biggest highlight from Bird Week, other than actually just talking about Bird Week, was I got to go to the opening of a Bird Week art exhibition, which is organised by some amazing artists. So we have Fiona Roderick, Outer Island, Egg Picnic, and Angela Robertson Buchanan. They get together every year and host a Bird Week exhibition, and I got to open it on the Friday night, which was an amazing honour. I got to see beautiful artwork at the Corner Gallery in Stanmore in Sydney. So I got to talk to some amazingly lovely people, see some incredible bird art by that amazing crew of artists, plus a mixed gallery wall from artists from all over the place that were selected to display their work. And the group are very, very generous, and 20% of the donations of any sales of the art during its opening goes to BirdLife Australia. So that was my highlight. I loved it. Had such a great time. Got to see amazing and talk to amazing people who are incredibly talented and great birders as well. And then my wish for next year, I would like, if I had a wish, I would love to see all of a sudden an incredible increase in green cover across our urban landscapes and a corresponding burst of, let's say, small bird diversity. So small birds becoming really, really common in the bird count and doing amazingly well. That would be my wish.
That's good. I'm still going one step backwards for my wish for next year. I just want the bloody environmental laws to actually be reworked, finished, and to stop buggering up what we've got left. That would be my my one wish. Then we can Well,
that's how it's going to happen. Isn't it?
That's right.
I just got to the end point.
Well, we can defragment or fill in all the holes in our urban environment and look after the small birds once we build on that. But I don't think there's going to be any momentum until that happens, and then we'll probably see a burst of enthusiasm from people who want to volunteer and want to be involved. And,
Yeah.
So that would be my my wish. So live audience, let us know what you would be wishing for the next Aussie Bird Week. Holly, did you see any international stories that you were interested in this week?
No, I can't say that I remember seeing anything much, but I haven't been on socials much this week, so maybe I've just missed something. Have you spotted anything?
Only one that I haven't read enough. There's someone walking an entire trail in New Zealand, really significant trail through a whole lot of habitats, and is recording every bird species that they see. So I'm going to keep an eye on that.
Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm so we should talk a little bit about New Zealand. I am following up a lot of people. They've had a change of government, and they've swung to the right as well. Mm-hmm. And one of the first things that the new government said they would do, I don't know if they are, is to remove a whole lot of the protections for rivers to stop dairy pollutants getting into waterways, which of course is one of the massive problems in New Zealand, not only for waterways but also for soils because of the runoff, the slurry and whatnot. So I'm going to be chasing up people that I've spoken to previously from New Zealand and just get an idea of what might be happening. I just hope they don't do what happened with Saving Our Species in New South Wales here, where they just slashed 20% of it. And but of course New South Wales here still hasn't done the Great Koala National Park, and they've removed funding or for some biodiversity positions. So, yeah, I mean, I'm always looking for some good news, Holly, but there's just, it's just hard. I just can't see the momentum building for things that are really positive. Oh, and the other bit of news, which I think people should think about, I saw the Minister for Agriculture today on the TV, Don Farrell, mentioning that the attempt to get a free trade agreement with the EU has fallen over. The other reason I'm bringing it up is because the National Farmers Federation president was interviewed in the National Press Club, the National Rural Press Club last week, and she was saying we shouldn't ratify a free trade agreement, or we shouldn't agree to a free trade agreement with the EU, because one of the things the EU doesn't wants included is that there would be high tariffs on products that are derived from newly cleared land. And the National Farmers Federation doesn't think that that's fair or nice, and yeah, it's like we are still wanting to clear more land. Mm-hmm. So, we just don't seem to be making sort of headway in the groups that continually tell us how much they care about country and making a difference and protecting our land. And of course, the minister just went, okay, farmers aren't happy, we won't sign this, so or we won't go with this. So that's effectively dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm going to try and not be grumpy. But
it's hard.
Well, you don't watch the same media I do, so maybe I only watch gloom and doom media. I don't know, but
I just don't watch a whole amount of media at the moment, to be honest. I think it's a coping mechanism.
I'm always going down rabbit holes and looking up papers and
Yeah.
chasing up other people's socials and whatnot. Have you seen something that we can grab onto and say, isn't this fantastic?
No. The snipe was the exciting thing for me. The painted snipe work was what grabbed me last week. Yep. We've got to celebrate the wins when you get them, because there isn't a huge number, unfortunately.
Yeah, but then I look at that. That's great work from Matt Herring and the team.
Yep.
The team, the volunteers, all the supporters. And then you go, so which government can we pat on the back for that?
No.
And the answer is no government. Some government money has gone towards that project, but it's gone through interest groups and people who are in the position to donate, who are really invested in that project. But you would think that there would be a state or a federal or a territory minister or something who would want to be attached to it and the good news. And Anyway, so I can tell people a few things that's coming up with the show. I've taken all the comments on board about putting stuff in the feed that, like our Monday with Holly shows. Some people say, I don't want that in the podcast feed. Right. So Apple, hang on, here we go.
Vicky, there you are.
So Vicky, I'm guessing.
Vicky saw the snipe.
Yeah, I'm still celebrating seeing both on Wednesday night. So yes,
she got some great photos.
Vicky is talking about the Australian painted snipe. So going back to what I was saying. So in the normal podcast feed, if you're already subscribed to the podcast, you will only get stuff like my straightforward interviews with people, like coming up this week, Paige Biley, who has been working in the Caribbean, assessing populations and population stability of seabirds and the American Virgin Islands and some of the other, mostly with the roseate tern, but some other seabirds as well. Alex Lees, who I've just spoken to, Heidi Trudell, talking about the mortality of one building, the mortality rate from one building in particular in Chicago. So that's the kind of stuff that will always be in that feed. And all the extra stuff that we do with the live streams and everything else will now be in YouTube Music. And there'll be two feeds. There'll be the video feed, and then there'll be the Bird Emergency Extras feed, which will get all the audio stuff, and you can get that in your podcast feed reader the same as you normally do, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, or whatever else. But Google Podcasts is going away, and YouTube Music is going to have RSS podcast feeds. So that's where you will find them if you want to just listen. But hot tip, if you want to get stuff as soon as it happens, that's when you go to YouTube and you check out the videos, because it takes me a while to get everything done and release them in the audio feed. But anyway, that's how that's going to happen. And Up to the Cup is on Tuesday, so I'm inviting piles of people in just to have fun while we can ignore horse racing on the Melbourne Cup holiday here in Melbourne. And that will also be the next deep dive with Ricky. So we'll probably be talking about painted snipe more, and that is on the 7th of November. There we go. All the housekeeping, all the advertising done. Holly, what's coming up in Urban Birds?
What's coming up
in the next few weeks for you?
Oh, goodness. So the Gang course that we've got open at the moment is going to be winding up for the year. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of work talking to everybody and looking at what actions they're going to be taking in their space. And then we're kind of gearing up to AOC, the Australasian Ornithologist Conference, which is on the end of November. So there's a whole bunch of BirdLife staff heading to that alongside, academics and amateurs, and it's going to be a really, really fantastic few days in Brisbane. I'm really excited. So I've got to prepare a workshop. I've got to prepare a presentation for a symposium that I'm running on education and action for birds. So we've got some amazing speakers in that session, including Millie, plus Andrew from our Powerful Owl project. We're talking beach nesting birds. We're talking shorebirds, a whole bunch of Kate Goring-Smith is going to do a session on art and how that inspires conservation action. So I'm really looking forward to my little symposium. And I'm going to have a talk with Daryl at that event as well. So Daryl and I are going to have a sit-down chat with Sean Dooley as well. So there's a lot happening during that conference. It's going to be a really massive few days. And I'm really excited to see people and hear about all the great work that's going on in birds.
Have you had a look at some of the papers that are going to be presented at the conference? So
I've seen a draft schedule.
Yeah. Yes. So what's the most exciting that you've looked at?
Oh, mate, there's so many. It's so hard. I'm going to bring it up and have a quick squiz through.
Just share me the link and I'll bring it up so everyone can
it's on a bird. I don't know if it's available.
Oh, okay.
Yet.
Okay.
Let me check and see if it's on the AOC
I'll go
website.
to the. Yeah, if you just share the normal website, because I did see a whole lot of things that were proposed.
I don't know if they've put out yet. The program. Oh, maybe the program's there. Oh yeah, there it is. It is up.
Okay. Just send that over to me, and I'll bring that up, and we'll talk about it.
So there is. Oh goodness, there's some great plenaries on palm cockatoos with Rob Hennison. Emma Williams is talking about sustainable habitat networks for threatened species in New Zealand. Oh, goodness. There are like 4 concurrent sessions every day on all amazing bird things. There's acoustic monitoring, there's urban landscapes, there's eBird and bird data sessions. We've got migratory shorebirds, science of recovery for least well-known birds. So black-throated finch is in there, grass wrens, red goshawk. There are some really interesting sessions. What else have we got? We've got seabirds. So Barry Baker's running a couple of sessions on seabirds. There's health and disease of wild birds.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, there's some terrific ones. Might encourage people to just go to the website, which is 2023aoc.com.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
So hopefully there'll be a lot of social media and stuff coming out around that week, because I think registrations are actually closed. They are at capacity. The place is full. It's amazing.
Yeah, which is really good. Really good. Lots of interest.
Yeah.
And, of course, it's Australia and New Zealand. And I think are there some people from some of the islands and Papua New Guinea also?
I think so, yes.
Involved, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so excellent. Okay, now Shane has told us his top 10 birds in terms of numbers for the count. So let's have a look at that. Shane's in Thirlmere or Wallandilly, New South Wales. Little Corella.
Nice.
Little Corella, most numerous.
Yeah.
Rainbow lorikeet, second most numerous. So 176 little Corella. Now, that's the thing with the little Corellas. If the flock had have turned up here that lives in my region, if they had turned up here, on a couple of days, they probably would have been mine most.
Yeah.
But I only saw a couple of them over the whole week. That they're far more likely to see or hear, far more likely to see them up around the shopping centre. There's a part of the drainage scheme behind where there's some pondages and grassy slopes. They hang around there, and some old over mature eucalypts. They tend to roost up there. Rainbow lorikeet number 2 with 126. Superb fairy wren number 3. That's good news.
That's nice.
63. Noisy miner coming in at number 4, 54. Welcome swallow. Gee, I'm jealous. 52. Oh, that was the bird I wanted to tell you about. The other bird that I saw a pair of them in the park the other day here. Haven't seen them for ages, but I haven't seen them since. So I did see a pair of them. It was quite humid. It felt quite, there was a lot of moisture in the air, in the low levels in the air above the park. But no, they're gone. Plus, over the weekend, people are walking their dogs and playing cricket and football in the park. So the swallows don't have access to the stuff there. Number
They're
6.
a bit of it. Sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I just didn't have access to the real estate. All right, well, tell us, welcome swallows.
They're kind of a semi-regular to my place. Like every so often, I'll get like half a dozen that will just be swooping through my front yard and my neighbours, and I love it. It's probably once every month or so they sort of come through. But there's also a population at where my daughter goes to gymnastics, and so they've got. There's a little nest at the moment that we've been watching. Every time we go in, we rush up and it's sort of stuck on a little I don't know what the word is. Just under the roof. There's a little shelf
with an overhead.
So we go and check out how the babies are doing. So I'm going this afternoon to have a look. I think they should be fledged by now.
Yep. Oh, hello, Stan in Kangaroo Island, by the way, too. Stan, I saw you posting the new car, the new EV too. Looks good. Okay, so number 6, spotted pardalote, 48. See, I haven't heard one since Bird Week. I did hear one in Bird Week. Sulphur crested cockatoo, 44.
How many counts did you do, Shane? How many surveys did you do?
Yes. Was that one a day, or did you get a couple in?
Multiple
each
day?
A day. Red wattlebird, 43. Rufus whistler, 36. And striated pardalote, striated thornbill, 32. Shane, the other thing too, do you stop and prop in one location, or do you walk around like a set trail? So it's interesting how different people do the count. I sit into one spot for mine. I could probably get a whole lot more species if I just walked around one corner, because I know there's always crested pigeons around one corner, and there's always white-plumed honeyeaters in another garden, and there's always little wattlebirds just around the corner. But the little wattlebirds don't come down to my park, and so because the red wattlebirds will not have it. They will not have it. So, yeah. So fill us in on that, Shane. Now, live audience, I want you to tell us what your number one wish would be if you were the Wizard of Oz or the Invisible Sky Fairy, and you were in control of outcomes for National Bird Week next year. What would be your greatest wish? All right, Shane's given us the answer. 25 counts over 7 days, 4 locations at around the same time of day. That's great. I'm a bit jealous of you having the time to get out and do those too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is. I thought about going up and doing the shopping centre in the area where they've put in new gardens, but I just couldn't work it out to be there at the same time, roughly the same time over the week. But yeah, so 25 counts over 4 days, 4 locations. Bloody bloody good. Holly, powerful hours. Any news?
Yes. In general, we're looking at sort of around 30 pairs again around southeast Queensland. I think we're looking at about 120 pairs bred in Greater Sydney, which is good. So it looks like they're sort of getting back to a good year after last year. So they're sort of on track. They've had a pretty good year. There's been some really cool photos getting around of, I think I saw a photo on socials of one with a little koala recently that it had caught. There's been some really not interesting sightings, and it looks like the breeding season sort of bounced back to being a nice breeding season, which usually means on average each pair that breeds gets at least one chick off the nest. So that's good news.
Excellent news.
Yes.
I think, I did see Dr. Nick had mentioned that it looked like a very good year compared to last year, which was too wet in Brisbane. So that's,
I think we're sort of backtracking to the status quo, which is nice. Because they do when they do breed, they do a good job of getting the chicks to fledge. I think where we see mortality, especially in urban areas for these guys, is actually adults. It's getting hit by cars and things like that, rather than getting those chicks off the nest. When they breed, they do pretty well.
Actually, did you see the really significant news coming out of the Burrum Buttock Flower Show yesterday?
No, what happened?
Maggie Watson got a award for the best flower or something. So
did she? Good on her.
I saw Dr. Dave was spruiking that. So well done. Well done, Maggie. Yeah, I saw that come up yesterday. Maggie, and of course, what made me think of that was rodenticides, because we did speak with Maggie quite a while ago now, Holly. That must be 18 months or so.
Yeah, it's been a while.
We talked about that. So again, we didn't miss the news over the weekend, or that Bunnings have withdrawn bad rodenticides from sale.
Strangely, no.
Oh.
Have not missed that. I wish that'd be a nice Sky Fairy outcome to have as well.
That would. Actually, if people are interested in that kind of stuff, you will like the conversation I had with Alex Lees, who's a reader in conservation, ecology / biodiversity, but really active in sort of the media and communications in the UK, and an expert on Amazonia, the Amazon rainforest and biodiversity. That we talked about extinction denialism and the people who hijack the media, and then how they are able to exert enough influence on all sorts of people that just means nothing ever happens. And I think that don't Bunnings always claim to be good corporate citizens? And it's such an easy win. It's such an easy win.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll continue talking to them.
And we'll keep talking about them and calling them out and encouraging them to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Now, in the next few days, as soon as the bad weather that we're expecting here for next couple of days clears up, I'm actually going out to Bunnings with the video camera, and I'm going to be just having a look at what is for sale in their plant range, and also just because now that I'm doing habitat gardening each week, it's a while since I've set foot in a Bunnings, so I don't know whether they're ranging the kind of plants that would be beneficial, and if they're not, well, then I'll stop talking about them and start featuring and encouraging people to go elsewhere. It's just it's very hard to encourage people to do things that are not really easy. And it's not really easy to find a great range of suitable native plants.
It's really hard, and that's actually I've had this flagged as a student project for quite a while, Grant, actually, to get some sort of stock take of what is in the major retail nurseries and labelled as bird friendly, to see what that range is, and how accurate those that are labelled bird friendly are actually. So I'm really interested to see how you go with that.
Yeah, and what qualifies as bird friendly? And
yes, because I think my definition of something that's bird friendly is very different to the plant labels of what's bird friendly.
Yeah, I've put in a request for an interview with a couple of the large plant breeders, people who are
the growers.
Well, the ones that are improving,
the ones that are actually doing the
they improve, like the kangaroo paws and some of the grevilleas and things like the lamandras, for landscape purposes, and to just talk to them generally about what they perceive as being bird friendly, and then why are they marketing? Generally, you'll see things being marketed as bird friendly, but not so much wildlife friendly, or habitat creators or some other sort of tag. So I'm just wondering how much of it is coming from, how much of it is motivated by anything other than a marketing spin to generate profit rather than to be really useful for improving biodiversity. And can you improve biodiversity when you're actually saturating the market with like an improved version of a naturally variable species? You're actually I mean, Lamandra longifolia is perfect example.
Yeah, well, I mean, similarly with sort of your bird-friendly labelled grevilleas and bottle brushes as being sort of the predominant flowering native, they're quite problematic for, encouraging the dominance of noisy miners and
wattlebirds.
And wattlebirds, yeah. So how we go about promoting a wider variety of bird-friendly plants that sort of encompass the spectrum and put an emphasis really on sort of insect attracting and shrub, shelter type plants. Shifting that as coming from growers, but then also, at the same end, there needs to be a demand for them amongst the buyers. Like it's a really hard thing. I would love to work with growers and come up with a suite of sort of bird friendly plants that are going to be more beneficial, and sort of getting some good labels on some of these things that provide sort of a wider ranging resources than just the real ones with the really pretty flowers. That would be amazing. And yeah, Martin, absolutely.
So totally Martin would like to see plants, trees marketed as local to its native distribution. Now that's really when we talk about Indigenous. It's difficult to do in a way other than driven by local retailers and that's local on-ground
council nurseries and things.
Yeah, that's quite a difficult thing to do. I've been working on my lists of plants that I sort of recommend because I'm trying to do plants that flower in different months, different colours, different purposes, and then you've got to talk about different regions. But I'm just starting with sort of the southeast and moving on. But so many of the plants that I like to recommend, I haven't been able to find in any catalogues. So So if you've got someone who is really keen to make a difference and to go out and buy plants next weekend, there sort of doesn't seem like any point in producing a guide, like a shopping guide for them, if they can't buy the stuff.
I think that's really dependent on where you live.
Yeah.
I think because you can, if you're in one of the sort of the major capital cities, you can. There are some really good sort of local Indigenous nurseries around that have got their plant lists available, but that depends on the council, and it depends on their opening hours, and all that sort of stuff as well, because a lot of them are sort of volunteer run too.
But the other thing I've been finding, Holly, sorry to butt in, but
right.
the other thing too is so many of these council and Indigenous flora and fauna nurseries have got like a stock list that is they might have developed pre-pandemic and it hasn't really been updated because it all takes it's all really all volunteer hours.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
and when I've reached out to a number of the of these around the country, is I'll say, oh, so have you got stock of this stuff now? And they go, oh no, because we had during the pandemic we couldn't produce, because obviously a lot of nurseries
delayed.
Yep. So a lot of places are 2 and 3 years behind in terms of their, and a lot of these small Indigenous flora and fauna nurseries, they produce first for the landscape orders for the council, and then contractors who are doing like major, shopping centres and roadsides and new public spaces in new suburbs and things like that. The very last place that they produce stock for is for some small retail outlet. So it's a difficult it's a difficult problem, and it is. It's just really, 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 really difficult.
It is, absolutely.
Now, what's Stan telling us from Kangaroo Island?
Nice.
Stan's got a resource selection at the local hardware nursery. Plus, we have the native plant nursery run by the Landscape Board. Now, Stan, but are they natives or are they Indigenous? And that's because that's where we have to be a little bit careful. The other thing too that I used to work in this space, So what often happened is you would get. I'm thinking correas were a perfect one here. So there's a Melbourne specific variety of Correa reflexa. So often we would be producing it and selling it, but when we ran out, we wouldn't cancel the order. You would substitute whichever Correa reflexa you had, right? And then the onus is then on the contractor or the retail nursery who ordered them to send them back.
Yeah.
And they generally don't. So, production is difficult. So,
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, and then, just if we weren't getting complicated enough, when you're forward planning, especially for things like tree species and you're trying to establish canopy, it's what is Indigenous and growing well now is probably not going to be the same species that are going to grow well in that location in another 50 years.
Yeah, or even 15 years, depending on how rainfall patterns change.
Yeah, that's right. So understanding, the modelling around what species are going to be sort of the best for different areas is really, really tricky, and something that the average person going to buy a bloody tree shouldn't have to worry about. I will give a shout out to a program called Which Plant Where, which uses that climate modelling to select different tree species that can be used in urban spaces. So it's really cool. If people want to have a bit of a look, I think you can access some of it for free, and there is some because it's largely designed for land managers.
The landscape. But
it's worth having a look at.
Yep. I have reached out for a bunch of these people
Yep.
to come on to do in the habitat gardening sort of
Yep.
segment. So there's a lot of this coming up.
Cool.
Sometimes I get a little bit. I always want to help the people who are jumping in the car and racing off to the nursery, wherever it might be, either after netball in the morning for the kids or, but a lot of they're the people who kind of are the last in the pecking order when it comes to where desirable plants are sent to. And I guess because so many people going into retail nurseries are not that discerning. If you want to plant 25 plants today and tomorrow, and you get there and 9 of the species that you have on your list aren't available, most people will settle for whatever is there.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't really have a problem with that, like on a personal level, but when that's replicated hundreds of thousands of times over every weekend, we're perpetuating the problem because we aren't going back, or nobody in charge of the production processes is going back, and we're just relying on all of these volunteer-based organisations to try and produce more and more and more and more. Whereas I'd like to see these major production nurseries getting right back into producing old school, perhaps less visually desirable species. Now, Martin's got a question up here. Would be the best option. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what the question is or what the comment really is.
As in where to go for your plants, maybe?
Yeah. Well, the first place I would always look would be, there's 2, your local council and check to see if you have a Indigenous nursery in your local area, and they would be the first places I would look. And if they've got stock, that would be great. Get in. But I've been ringing around a lot over the last couple of months, trying to set up interviews and just talking to people about their stock. And most of them don't have a lot of stock available for just casual buyers. And a lot of people are producing for like a council open day, kind of, twice yearly sale and things like that.
Yep.
So there's a whole lot of ways that stuff is getting out there. And also councils are giving away maybe 1 or 2 plants to people each year. And that's where a lot of the stock goes. So it's not going into people renovating gardens and everything. So Martin said the comment before that. I'm not sure whether you mean the comment from Stan or Martin's comment. Anyway, I think we've talked right through that issue. Let's see. So, coming across Holly's desk in the next 2 weeks, what do you think you've got?
What have I got? As I said, getting ready for AOC, so I'm going to be doing some analysis on participation in our e-learning course from Gangs, which is what I'm going to be talking about. So that's going to be a big bit of my work, and reaching out with everybody who's taking part in that course at the moment. That's my next big thing. And then we're going to be doing a bit of revisiting the bird count internally. I think we're going to have a catch up soon. Everybody that was involved across the org, and see how it went. And that's probably going to keep me really busy, I think.
I reckon so. That reminds me, on our fortnightly schedule, that that would be that day, that Monday when you're up at AOC. So you're obviously not going to be talking to us on that day. Would you like to
What
try
day
and
is that?
speak to us? That would be the 13th of November.
Oh no, I'm there. AOC's
Not till the
no, the
following one,
end.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm heading up in the week of the 20th, and then the week after is actually the conference. So the 27th is when the pre-workshops for the conference start.
Okay. So that
So I'm
is
around
the
on the
day.
13th.
So that will be the day that I will actually take Holly off the whiteboard, because that would have been the next. That would have been the next one. So we're going to catch up hopefully on the 12th, on the 13th. Beg your pardon.
Yes.
Now I'll probably be buzzing because on the night before I will have been out to the readings event with Daryl and catching up with with the best joke writer from Spicks and Specs, also known as Sean Dooley. I'm not sure people give him enough credit for being such a funny fellow. So that will be that day, and I'll have been at the walk around the Botanic Gardens, I think,
Nice.
on that morning. So I'll be rushing back to just get back here in time to run in and sit at the seat.
And I can hear all about it. That's great.
Yeah, and then you'll be catching up with Daryl later in that week, won't you?
Yeah.
In Sydney. So
yeah, he's doing a couple of events around Sydney, which will be great. One for Birding New South Wales, and I think he's doing one with Southern New South Wales BirdLife branch as well. There's a few talks popping up.
Thanks for that. Thanks for this, Stan. Stan likes the pick of the brown thornbill. I enjoy seeing them on KI or Kangaroo Island.
Yeah, well, you have the the King Island brown thornbill subspecies. Very, very special bird.
I'm not sure that one's the King
Kangaroo
Island
Island.
subspecies is going to be on kangaroo.
I'm mixing up.
There probably is
Monday.
there probably is a subspecies on Kangaroo Island that just hasn't been studied. But again, thanks to Patrick Kavanagh for that photo, which I took from Flickr. So, what are they doing? The way you search things and everything nowadays. Anyway, Flickr, what have you done? Now I did. I was about to mention something that I can't remember now. Stan,
my King Island, Kangaroo Island. Buggering up, just.
Oh no, Stan derailed me. Yeah. But they are a delightful bird. I love the brown thornbill and the striated thornbill. And Stan's telling us that there is indeed a KI, Kangaroo Island brown thornbill. Now, as we come into November, if you want to stay up really late, I'm speaking with Paige Biley about seabirds in the Caribbean. I think that's on
Cool.
That's midnight. Again, I'm not sure if it's midnight tonight or midnight tomorrow night. I have to double check. And then next week we are getting back into some members only shows. We've got Nup to the Cup, which is a long day on the 7th, and of course habitat gardening, and I've got lots of people who are just finding times and dates. So November's going to be very, 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 very busy in terms of talking to bird people. I'm trying to talk to quite a few of the people who are presenting at AOC before AOC, so that I can actually play it around that time. That's a very noisy common minor you've got at your place there.
Yeah. Just out there.
Yeah. My birds have been very quiet today. I did notice some house sparrows out there. Oh, I've mentioned this before, Holly, but the tree sparrows are really making a comeback around here.
Before. Yeah, interesting.
Oh, and because they're invasives, introduced species. I don't usually comment on them, but I've been seeing goldfinches recently. I've seen some greenfinches.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, now that's quite unusual, but
Yeah.
there seems to be this little area where they're just hanging on. Just
Wow,
hanging
that's really
on.
interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, greenfinches. I should check on
I can't
bird
remember the
data
last
and
time I saw a
eBird.
greenfinch. Wow.
Yeah. I did see one here a couple of years ago. I think I made comment about it. And I see them in the same couple of gardens at the
Yep.
just down the bottom end of the park, only a couple of 100 metres away from here. But I don't see them elsewhere, and I don't see them in the park, and I don't see them in the linear park, which is a great long connective park, but it's got very little tree cover and vegetation cover. What's Stan telling us? Stan has goldfinches on Kangaroo Island, so it's a flock of 5 or 6 the other day. Yeah, they just hang on, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Absolutely.
I think they're very much a southern bird. I'm not sure. Are goldfinches big in other places in New South Wales?
We get them. They're not big,
Yeah.
but you do get little pockets of them. Yeah.
Yes, Stan. They are the red faced ones, I would say, and then largely black and yellow. When they're flying, they have a really distinct yellow band in the wing when they fly away. So, they're quite delightful, but I would much rather see red-browed finches or something.
Double-barred finches or something nice. Yeah.
Yeah, double bars or just the old beautiful firetail would be nice.
Oh, yes. Nice.
But, yeah. Well, I think, folks, unless you've got another comment to throw in quickly, I think Holly and I are done for today, and we'll be back in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I'll be probably supercharged with after being social.
Nice.
Stan's got a leucistic house sparrow.
Cool.
One with white wings. That's very cool.
Nice.
We did have a masked lapwing here for a couple of years that had on one side only white wing coverts about the shoulder, but haven't seen it for a long time. Okay, Holly, thanks again.
Thanks. Always.
Stay safe. Get your binoculars out and go birding with Junior, Holly. Oh, look! Just as we're about to wrap up, Shane's in with a corker.
Nice.
So Shane went bird watching with BirdLife Southern Highlands yesterday.
Oh, they're a great branch. I love
And
Southern
down
Highlands.
at the Colo Vale Falls on the fire trail. Now, Shane, does that, you said your better half joined you for the first time. Does that mean it's her first time bird watching or just the first time that she's been out with the group? Her highlight was spotting a crested shrike-tit. What a great bird as her first new bird. Yeah. Oh, good. We got a new bird nerd.
Excellent.
Okay. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. We love to meet new bird nerds. So that's very cool. Holly, I don't know. Did I first time? Shane's clarified. First time bird watching. Well, that is.
And she got a crested shrike-tit. Oh my gosh.
That is fantastic. What a great bird to get first up.
Amazing.
Yeah, crested shrike-tits, golden whistlers. They're birds that you can't help but be really excited the first time you see them.
And every time you see them.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, exactly. I was just about to give you some news.
Okay.
Oh yes, no. Well, it's more housekeeping. I don't know. Did last time we spoke, did I tell you that I was having trouble with my podcast host and that I couldn't get through? I'm not sure if I was talking to you or Ricky about it.
What's the
I had I went to upload some new episodes and I couldn't because the feed had disappeared, and I checked, but the feed was still there in Spotify and everything. And I'm trying to upload a new episode. I go to the support and they've got a chat bot, but you can't get past the chat bot every time.
Bot. Oh no!
It's saying, does this help? No, this isn't the problem, and you just can't get through. And there were no other options for how to contact people. So I thought, well, I used to send this guy an email. So I thought, I'm just going to send him an email. Luckily, then he read it. So I actually got to somebody. So it's fixed, it's up, and there are new episodes about to drop out in the feed. But boy, what a
wow!
These AI chatbots are such a pain in the neck. Yeah, I hate it. All right, everyone, thanks very much. This has been the Bird Emergency. I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd and a plant nerd. Being joined, of course, by Dr. Holly Parsons, who is the Urban Bird Program Manager at BirdLife Australia. We'll be back Monday with Holly in 2 weeks with lots of new stuff to talk about. If you're into the audio podcast, thebirdemergency.com/podcast, and subscribe and follow on YouTube or Facebook, whatever. Get ready for the total extra podcast feed that's coming into YouTube Music. Thanks, Holly.
Awesome. Thanks, Grant.
Thanks, Stan. Everyone else in the Riot Squad, thanks for joining us live. It's always great when we get a live audience who is involved. And if you do want to be involved in the live audience, because you'll be listening to this in the future, thinking back to the past, the easy way to be involved live is to just hit thebirdemergency.com/YouTube or thebirdemergency.com/Facebook for whatever is your preferred medium. And then you can be like Shane and Martin and Stan and Vicky. I think that's everyone who was actually talking to us live today. You can join in the fun, and we love it. We like to meet you. So, see you later, everyone.